Today's topic, what is a Guaranteed Standard Issue, also known as a GSI disability insurance policy? Now, for many of you that who've watched the channel or are a physician, hopefully, more than likely, you have heard this term. But many don't understand how important and really maybe vital this could be to your current financial plan and future financial plan. The GSI policy is a very special one that likely does not get enough attention for a few reasons, which we're going to cover, but we're going to walk through all the details of why it's good, why it's guaranteed, why it's not guaranteed sometimes, also with two very special rules that may keep it guaranteed, even if someone maybe messed it up in the past for you. We can work on that. So we're going to get into all that. GSI policy coming up now. Okay, before we get into it, as always, now I like to put a little plug in here. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Give us a little thumbs up. We'll also get this message out to more and more physicians, since this is a very physician-heavy topic. If you click on the bell icon, you'll also get a notification every time we release a new video, which we do that weekly. That's my pitch. All right, GSI. What is a Guaranteed Standard Issue policy? Well, in short, it's a disability insurance policy, right? That's the easy part. Now, here's where the uniqueness comes in. There is essentially no underwriting. And in a few circumstances, still to this day, this could all be gone depending on when you're watching this video. For some females in certain states with certain policies, there is still something called a unisex policy. That is important because disability insurance is much more expensive for females. If you're watching this as a female physician and you've gotten quotes and you've seen your male counterparts, you're probably like, holy smokes, that guy's right. So that's why unisex can really help females. For males, doesn't have a real big effect. But who benefits? Anybody with any type of issue on underwriting. And even if you don't have any medical issues, which we're going to walk through a few to keep an eye on because this is a topic that also catches a lot of physicians off guard, it's still simplified underwriting. So even if you have a perfect history, this is likely the route, at least to get that base policy in place. But here's the kicker. It's only available for a short period in your career. Here's the big caveat. Your program needs to offer it. This is getting more and more spread out, so that's good. But it's during residency or your fellowship, and some will also offer a window after your training that they'll still allow you to get that. Or they might even call it like a new in practice type policy. So it's a very short window to take advantage of this. And for the most part, you're going to get a very good policy. You're only going to see this from the big five, which we call them today, right? The main ones that you want to see for true ONOC disability. A lot of them will have a coverage, maybe starting around 5,000, certain specialties, maybe get up to 7,000. They'll offer another, we call this a rider on there, where they'll allow you to increase that as your income increases. Maybe they'll cap you out at 10,000 or 15,000. But for all of our physicians, and every time I do a public speaking event, I'll always come back and say, this is likely the most important foundational piece of your insurance, possibly your entire financial plan, if you can't get disability again outside of that training window. So that is what ballpark, what the GSI, again, stands for Guaranteed Standard Issue Policy. If you don't know if your school, your program offers one, check with HR. If not, our main go-to guy is Larry Keller, who is, I consider, probably the biggest insurance guru for the physician community, but he pretty much knows every program in the country. And here's the other unique part about these policies. Only one person can usually sell them. That's right. So if you're at XYZ program, you can't just call Larry and say, hey, Larry, I want to get a GSI for my program. Now, if Larry is the actual agent allowed to sell that, of course, Larry can help you. But for many, it's not Larry. It's, XYZ brokerage firm down the street. So keep that in mind. And don't just remember, you're going in there for disability insurance. Don't come out with whole life insurance and 16 different forms of permanent life insurance. You're looking to just lock in disability. But that's your GSI policy. That's your GSI 101. Okay, next up, medical issues that can affect coverage. Why am I going to include this here? Well, for many of you, you might be thinking, I don't need a GSI policy, I have good health. And a lot of physicians are caught off guard on the few things I'm about to read here. Here's the other thing. This should be a huge warning sign. If you are currently in residency or fellowship and you have someone who's probably sent you a very weird cold email or hosted a pizza lunch in your cafeteria that is trying to sell you a product that is not a GSI, we're going to get into a lot of issues with that in a second. But if you apply for that and you were denied, you will lose access to that GSI policy. Let me say that one more time. If you apply for a policy that is not a GSI policy and you were denied coverage, you have likely lost your access point to a GSI forever. Now, there are two very unique rules I'm going to give you towards the end of this video, but just stick with me for now. For the bulk of you, it's over. So that's why this is really important. So here are the main things I want you to keep an eye on. This is one that catches a lot of physicians off guard, but common reasons why you might be denied coverage. Doesn't mean you have better or bad medical history, but listen to these, all right? So first one, self-prescribing or peer prescribing. In the physician community, right? Not anything too crazy there, but that is often a big red flag on underwriting. Keep that one in mind. Chronic conditions. I think that's one that we probably expect a little bit more of, but that is one that comes up quite a bit. Sleep apnea, insulin-dependent diabetes, heart issues are very common there. Unresolved follow-ups. You're a physician. You're smart. You know what you're doing. Go see someone. They say, hey, doc, I think we're okay, but I would go see, Dr. Smith, who's a specialist on that topic. And you think, yeah, I'm good. I'll just see how this shakes out. But you submit, they get your medical records, right? And they see that. They could deny you or hold up that application. And then again, common issue I think most think about is either high or low BMI. Now, as I read those are usually common reasons for denial of traditional coverage. If you read that and you're like, oh shoot, I had one or two of those. GSI policy is even more important now for you than ever. GSI policy does not worry about that stuff as long as you were not denied in the past on a non-GSI policy. So those are medical issues that can affect coverage. Those are ones that you need to pay attention to, and ones that aren't as simple as, well, I didn't have any big issues, so I should be fine. As I read through there, a few of those are pretty common things, especially in the physician community. Just one section to add in here. I feel like I covered this pretty well in the initial, but add another section on my type notes on who's eligible. So again, residents, fellows, and usually a small window after you finish your training. Things to keep an eye on though. Don't even trust one resource. Sometimes HR will not know this. So I put, check in with graduate medical education offices, check in with colleagues, right? If any colleagues have it and they're like, oh no, I got a GSI policy, or, very common sentence. Yeah, I got this $5,000 policy, but there was like no underwrite or anything. It was really easy. Those are very good indicators of GSI. And again, if you have a trusted broker, I keep referencing Larry only because Larry's our main guy. But on my other podcast, Physician Sense, we also have other firms listed there that are fantastic. And if there's a GSI policy available for you, they would know who that person is. But do some research, especially if GSI is your only option. Like if I read that list before and you're like, oh, shoot, I need a GSI policy. Don't trust your first response. See if you can make sure that a few resources said, unfortunately, there's none for your training. And remember, if you're in residency and their program doesn't offer it, but you are going to go to fellowship, maybe that fellowship program will. So keep that in mind. Really important things to keep an eye on here. I'm going to transition that right into now benefits of the GSI policy. So main things here. Again, some of these were included at the start, but let me read through the ones that I typed up. Main benefits, no medical underwriting. Probably the largest win you can get out of that. No medical underwriting for these policies. Coverage for pre-existing conditions. Right? That is a huge win in disability insurance. Set pricing. Premiums are often comparable to fully underwritten policies. Some of them are even offering a discount. And sometimes you'll hear them say like, oh, this person said I can get a discount on my policy if I go through that. And that can sometimes be the case. Some insurance brokers will write a lot of policies through a certain institution. They might get a 10 or 20% discount. You're usually going to see something like that in those GSI policies because they're writing a ton of these policies for that same institution. And last but not least, clearly, right? Peace of mind. I don't want to underemphasize how important disability insurance is as you go forward. You usually note this at the start, but we are huge proponents of why disability insurance is vital. Again, we don't sell any products. We do not sell disability insurance. Anytime we need to get disability in place for a client or review that, we're comfortable reviewing it. But if we need to get quotes from an outside party, we actually do utilize Larry for those independent quotes. So we don't sell anything. We just literally yelling from the rooftops on how important this coverage is. So those are the main benefits you're going to get out of that GSI policy. I know I briefly noted at the start too, but in some states with some insurance carriers, there's still a unisex policy, which is extremely, extremely important for female physicians. And remember, this will serve as your base. You might need more coverage down the line. Once you use up all your guaranteed insurability on that GSI, you may need to add a regular policy down the line, which will have underwriting, will not have unisex policies. So it's going to be a more traditional policy. But this GSI should be a huge piece of your insurance plan going forward, if not forever, until you can self-insure yourself or you're done working and you can drop the policy. All right, few situations where GSI is essential, a guaranteed standard issue policy where it's essential. This group, it's vital. I know I used that word a few times, but it's vital for this group. Chronic health conditions, right? Sleep apnea, diabetes, cardiac issues. If you check any of those boxes, this policy could be a once in a lifetime opportunity. Pregnancy, traditional underwriting often adds a pregnancy exclusion on there. GSI plans will cover that, and then also any related complications. Huge win, again, for the female population of GSI policies. Medical risk, another tricky one that sometimes catches people off guard. Now, unfortunately, while you're in your training or when you are a physician, you probably don't have too many hobbies, unfortunately, because of the time requirements to be a world-class physician, right? Some of you do, but scuba diving, what did I list on here? Rock climbing, some of those crazy things, you don't have to worry about that. But believe it or not, traditional policies, if you list that, you could have some issues there. They could come in and put exclusions and things of that nature. And then rejected applications. As I work my way down here, there's two special rules that, again, this could be vital to getting that policy in place and getting that coverage in place. So if you've been rejected on a traditional policy in the past, you might still have a chance. I'm going to get to that towards the end here. Now, for some of you, depending on where you are in your training, could a fully underwritten policy make sense? It could. I will come back and say 99% of situations, I still think GSI base plan with the guaranteed insurability is probably ideal for pretty much everybody. But a few circumstances where you might want to at least kick the tires on a fully underwritten policy. Higher income needs. If you need higher income coverage, again, a lot of these base GSI plans are going to be 5,000, maybe 6,000, 7,000 based on specialty. They'll allow you to increase it with something called guaranteed insurability, but you're limited out of the gate. So if you have higher income, maybe you have some side gigs or something happening, you might want to lean towards that fully underwritten policy. Another unique one, mental health coverage. A lot of the GSI policies will have a 24-month limitation on anything mental or substance abuse, things of that nature. So if you would want more of a full coverage, like for the entire duration of the plan, that might be another reason to go get a traditional underwritten policy. And then specific features, disability insurance have a whole bunch of riders on them. Now, again, I do think the GSIs give you a really solid foundation of riders. But if you have very specific riders, the one that comes to mind is like you can add student loan riders now on some of them, where if you're disabled to also help pay your student loan payments, those aren't going to be added into GSI policies. So things of that nature, get into inflation and things of that magnitude, you might want a more traditional policy. But for the bulk of you, I'd always think about getting the GSI policy. And then if you need to supplement with something a little bit more fancy, you can always add that as well. All right, drum roll, two very special rules. Here is the kicker though, and I will give a shout out where the shout out is needed. I never knew about these features until Larry Keller told me about those features. One, in past conversations, we also recently had him on our Physician Sense podcast and YouTube channel, but these are called Vegas rule and 9-month rule. So if you were denied in the past, these two give you a chance. Here's the kicker. Guardian is one of the big five, right? Guardian is the only one that offers these. Now let me read them to you. I'm going to read you what I actually typed up on I call it a teleprompter. As you can tell, I don't really use a teleprompter, but I do have notes over here to the side. So let me read these to you. All right. So let's say you applied for disability insurance with another company and got denied. If this has happened before starting at the place offering the GSI policy, guess what? That denial does not count. You are still eligible under GSI. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So let's use an example. You're in residency. Your friend, I'm going to say they're not a friend, works at a very large firm. Maybe the initials are NWM. They say, to heck with GSI, I got the best doctor disability policy on the market. Only cares about the commish. Tells you to apply. Well, unfortunately, you had one of those issues. You self-prescribed because you had an issue with some knee pain and you're like, you know what? I'm a doctor. I'll get this all fixed up. I'm good. You're denied. Oh, sugar. Can't get it now. But wait a second. You're now in fellowship. That denial happened in residency. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So if you can apply to Guardian for your GSI policy, you still got a shot. You still got a shot, baby. All right, 9-month rule. This one is key for new residents and fellows. If you are within your first 9 months of starting, again, residents and fellows, Guardian gives you a little grace period. If you get declined elsewhere during this time, you're still good to go with GSI. So you're in the first few months, residency or fellowship. Again, friend sold you a policy. You're denied because they didn't ask the proper questions. They just wanted that commish. You're denied. But you still can apply to get the Guardian DSI. 9-month rule. Very, very special stuff. Now, again, these are only for Guardian. So you need to pay attention to this. And also kind of a unique rule here. I don't want to miss this one. Even if Guardian initially declines you or modifies your offer, they still will let you qualify for a GSI later. You don't really see that in the insurance world too much. I mean, the big five are the big five because of their true ONOC status and what they provide. But you can see clearly Guardian actually does care about the physician community. They're giving you two very unique opportunities to kind of get back into the game for a coverage that is so important. I know I keep saying that, but this is such a vital coverage for your financial plan both today and tomorrow. So that's a wrap. This was a very vital topic. It's one that I've touched on in a lot of other videos, but not one that I've ever gave an entire clip to. And this is very specific to the physician community. So, if you clicked on this one, if you're at the end now and you're not a physician, thanks for watching. But maybe you have a physician friend or a physician family member, right? But this one is for the physician community. This one is literally built for them. That GSI, that Guaranteed Standard Issue Policy, vital in so many ways. Hopefully this gives you some good ideas, adds in some of those very unique rules there. Again, we have some other pieces on GSI policies. Again, I know I gave numerous shout outs to Larry Keller, but if you find some of his information too, he's also probably the #1 advocate out there for those GSI policies. But thanks for hanging out with me. Videos are getting a little bit longer now, probably about a 20-minute video here. We have a new editor that is much more friendly to my longer form content, more of a conversational piece. We don't have to rush through things, but hopefully you enjoyed this video. Again, a vital topic. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so now. A little thumbs up will also help get this video out to all your friends in residency and fellowship. Get the word out. But again, thanks for hanging out with me for the last 20 minutes or so. And as always, I will catch you on the next video.